feel like if you put all these books together, they would make a great season of Doctor Who, but back when Matt Smith or David Tennant was the Doctor. Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Angela Ann, the friend of all the good YA book recs and literary lifestyle tips. Today we're going to be discussing 6 of my favorite sci-fi books. I originally wanted to do fantasy books today, but truth be told, I read a lot more sci-fi than I do fantasy, and these books, when I was looking for fantasy books, just kind of like screamed out to me on the shelf, so I decided to do sci-fi recommendations instead. Let's jump right into the video with one of my absolute all-time favorite series, and that is the Scifi series by Neal Shusterman. Yes, this cover is definitely not the most attractive cover, but this book series is so freaking good. Scifi takes place in a future where AI has created utopia for humans. So there's no more war, there's no more poverty, there's no more diseases, so people can live and be immortal. However, there's an issue with population control, and so in order to fix that, the humans who created the society decided that they didn't want AI deciding who was gonna live or die, so instead they created the Scifi, which is a community of humans who act as Grim Reapers and control the population through killing off a certain quota of people. Yes, this series is very dark. That is a very dark summary, but is also a very interesting sci-fi world. Our main characters in the series, Citra and Rowan, are both recruited to be an apprentice for a Scifi. So in order to become a Scifi, you have to be an apprentice, and it isn't necessarily something you can sign up for. They just choose whoever they want to become the next Scifi. The issue is that Citra and Rowan are both apprenticed to the same Scifi, and there's only one official Scifi spot. Also, no one walks away from the Scifi. You either become a Scifi or you don't walk away alive. That is where we start our story. It is a whirlwind trilogy. I absolutely adore these books. Neal Shusterman has such a great writing style, and I couldn't put them down when I was reading them. It's also a great series because all the books in the series are out, so you can definitely read through all of them instead of having to wait in anticipation for the next book. The next book is also the first book in a series, and it is This Mortal Coil by Emily Suvada, I think. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, Emily. I don't think Emily will watch this, but still. This book takes place in a world where a plague has wiped out a lot of humanity. The people who succumbed to the plague became like these feral monsters who kill humans, and the few humans who are left have to hide out from those monsters as well as hiding out from getting this plague. Our main character, Katerina, was the daughter of one of the most famous geneticists of all time. He was the geneticist who was supposed to find the vaccine for this plague. He mysteriously disappeared. One day, a soldier shows up on her door and tells her that her father is dead and he left behind clues for the vaccine. Of course, she is the only one who can put together the clues to find the vaccine. The last sentence from the Goodreads description of this definitely raises the stakes, and that is 2 billion people at stake. 2 people can save them, and one final secret Katerina needs to unlock. This Mortal Coil is a dark dystopian that you won't be able to put down. It might be better to read when you have a little bit more distance between you and 2020, just because it does deal with a deadly disease, but it is a really great sci-fi book. The next book on my list is described as a murder mystery in space. It is the Across the Universe trilogy by Beth Revis. This is another series where all the books are already out. This book takes place on a spaceship. Our main character, Amy, has been frozen on the spaceship along with her family, and the goal is that they're going to unfreeze them when they land on the planet they're trying to get to hundreds of years into the future. However, Amy is released 50 years too early and has to adapt to the spaceship. What makes this even more complicated is someone from the worker crew keeps unfreezing different people in the frozen part of the ship and is trying to murder them. Amy has to figure out who it might be before her parents are unfrozen. And of course, to make it more complicated, she has to work with a teenage boy who is the leader in training. This series is really good. I love how it takes place on a spaceship, just because I feel like that's a really fresh taste from a lot of the dystopians that take place on Earth. And it also has a little bit of a mystery thriller element to it. The next series I'm going to recommend, only the first book in the series is out, so if you are someone who likes to read full series, this one might not be for you, but it is a really great book. It also kind of is sci-fi meets historical fiction, and that is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. It is about 2 people named Roma and Juliet who are from warring gangs in 1920s Shanghai. The 2 must work together despite their past romantic scientific histories and their family rivalry in order to solve a mysterious virus and monster that keep killing the citizens of Shanghai. This book is absolutely amazing. If you haven't picked this book up yet, you definitely need to. It will have you on the edge of your seats the entire time, and I feel like 1920 Shanghai is a fresh new setting that I haven't seen a lot of in YA. In case you guys were wondering what the names Roma and Juliet and the family rivalry, this is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, although I definitely preferred this version to the original Romeo and Juliet. A sci-fi reading recommendations list wouldn't be complete without a time-traveling story. For my time-traveling story, I have chosen to recommend Invictus by Ryan Grodin. This book is about a boy who is born outside of time. So his dad was a Roman gladiator and his mom was born in, I want to say, I'm bad with years, in 2354 AD. He lives in the future, but he's training to become a time traveler. So you have to train to become a time traveler, like an academy in this world. When he fails his test to become a time traveler, him and a couple of his friends decide to take up positions on a black market ship, which travels back in time and steals valuable artifacts. While they're traveling back in time, they meet this mysterious girl who seems to know a little bit too much about them and what they are doing. This book is an amazing story, and it goes back and forth between a bunch of different time periods, not just the Roman time period and the future, but also like every time period in between. So it is definitely worth a read, especially if you are a fan of Doctor Who or just like time traveling in general. The final book on this list is a little bit of a contemporary speculative, I guess, if that makes sense. It has a lot of Black Mirror's vibes to it, and it's They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. So this book is definitely a little bit more contemporary than the other sci-fi recommendations on this list, but I'm trying to kind of diversify the sci-fi recommendations so that there's something for everyone. They Both Die at the End is about a world that is very similar to ours, except on the day you die at midnight, you get a call from this corporation called Deathcast saying you are going to die that day. They don't tell you how you're going to die or when you're going to die, just that that day will be your final day. This story follows Rufus and Mateo, two teenage boys who get the call on the exact same day. They go onto this app where you can like seek a friend for your final day, and they seek each other out, and they spend their last day together doing all the things that they wish they could do and just trying to live life to the fullest. Of course, over the course of that day, the two boys fall in love because it is Adam Silvera, so it is a romance story. And if you want to know how it ends, you're definitely going to have to read this book, although the title, They Both Die at the End, might be a bit of a spoiler. So there you have it. Those are your 6 sci-fi book recommendations. I would love to know what your favorite sci-fi book is down in the comments below, and if you're going to pick up any of these, or if you've already read any of these and what your opinion is of them. As always, I will see you next week with another video. If you're not already subscribed, I would love for you to subscribe, and I would love if you would hit the thumbs up button. I will see you down in the comments and in the next video.